is the way. This is the way.
Ahsoka is setting up a brilliant story, but if you're like me, right now you're probably wondering where it fits in the overall timeline of Star Wars. And at the moment, it's kind of ambiguous, which I think is intentional on the showrunner's part. So let's dive in and look at the story so far to deduce where it truly lands in the timeline and why they're being so shy about telling us where it is as an audience. Before we get into it, if you're a fan of our videos, please like our content and subscribe to the channel. It really does help us out and gives us the opportunity to create more content for you. So, what's been confirmed so far in the timeline? According to Natasha Liu Bordizzo, the amazing actor who plays Sabine Wren in the show, she's commented that Ahsoka runs concurrently with The Mandalorian Season 3, but setting it during the last season of The Mandalorian doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, and it's possible that she's just assuming that's when it takes place, but for some reason we still haven't gotten confirmation from Dave Filoni, the writer and showrunner, when the series takes place, and I think that that's intentional. Looking at the story, it's far more likely that the show picks up right after Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, titled The Jedi, which happened to be Ahsoka's first live-action appearance. In that episode, Din Djarin teams up with Ahsoka to take down Morgan Elsbeth on the planet Corbus. This is where we learn that Elsbeth worked for Thrawn, and after she is defeated, Ahsoka asks her point blank, "Where is Thrawn?" which sets up the story for the Ahsoka series. Fast forward to the opening of the Ahsoka series, we see Baylan and Shin attack a New Republic ship to free Elsbeth, who is being transported for trial, which indicates that only a short time has passed between the events of Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian and the start of Ahsoka. Now let's talk about Luke Skywalker. So far in the series, he hasn't been mentioned once, and let's be frank, if you're going to go up against some dark Jedi, Luke should be the first person you call to come help out. I think Luke isn't being mentioned because at this point, Ahsoka doesn't know him, and this is probably the reason the showrunners are being so ambiguous when Ahsoka takes place in the timeline. Back in Chapter 13 of The Mandalorian, Ahsoka tells Din to take Grogu to the Seeing Stone on Tython, but seems to not know who will be called to them. This indicates that at that point, she has not met Luke Skywalker. Now in Ahsoka's second appearance, we see in Chapter 6 of the Book of Boba Fett titled From the Desert Comes a Stranger, shockingly, we learn that Ahsoka and Luke have already met! This leads me to believe that they must have met sometime after Luke began Grogu's training. Now, Jon Favreau has mentioned that Grogu trained with Luke for 2 years before he chose to return to Din Djarin, so there's ample time for a story to be told here. This indicates that the Ahsoka series could be leading up to the first meeting of Ahsoka and Luke, which is something that would fit perfectly in Ahsoka's standalone series. That leads me to believe that what we saw in the Book of Boba Fett actually takes place after the Ahsoka series. In the current series, we see an Ahsoka who has walked away from the Jedi Order, from her Padawan Sabine, and the story is showing us, as an audience, the journey Ahsoka is going on is to become her own Jedi. It'll be very interesting to see how they tie all the loose ends together, and it would give the series an emotionally impactful moment on the level of the Season 2 finale of The Mandalorian. Having Anakin's Padawan finally meet his son and learn that Anakin was redeemed would be a huge moment for Ahsoka's character, and something we have already seen weighing heavily on her in the first few episodes of the series. So to me, it makes the most sense for this to take place during Season 2 of The Mandalorian or shortly after, which puts the series about 5 years after Return of the Jedi, or 9 ABY. That all said, it could still run concurrently alongside Mandalorian Season 3, but that just leaves a lot more plot holes and inconsistencies that are much harder to explain. So what are your thoughts on this? Leave me your comments and your opinions on where you think Ahsoka lands in the timeline. So thanks for joining me today on Fatherly Fandom, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And from our families to yours, have a good one, and may the Force be with you.